Hello beautiful people, my name is Frida and today I want to show you how I did this makeup look. The emphasis of this makeup is going to be pretty much the base makeup, and the base makeup is important in this makeup tutorial just because I make sure that it was mask proof. Something to keep in mind. I am doing a technique called reverse contouring, so there is a learning curve there, but I am teaching this technique just specifically because, well, it's easier to buy one foundation that might help everything really set in than buying tons of different products that really set in. It's cheaper to buy a foundation that really sets than having to buy a blush and contour, a highlighter, all of these products that we used to do our face base. But I do give a few tips throughout the video. If you don't want to do this technique, you can just listen to a few of the products that I mentioned that work really well and might have really to non-transfer. Other thing is that if you live in a super hot climate or you're thinking of doing this makeup look when you're working out, it's not the best idea, because what happens is that because you have the mask on and it's really hot, it gets really humid, the base is going to start to get tacky again, and it's just the fact that it gets really humid and you have the mask on and it starts to rub in your face. You know what I mean? If it's for like going to your car that it's quite hot, but you're going to be inside of a place that has air conditioner, you might be fine. But keep in mind that if you're expecting to wear this much makeup and be outside in a really hot place for a long period of time, not the best idea. But if you want to see how I did this makeup look, please keep on watching. So I'm just going to start getting my hair out of my face, and once that's done, I'm going to start with the base makeup. Just to let you know, I would recommend that you get a sunscreen that actually sets, because that will be helpful for this makeup to be non-transfer. And I would say keep away anything that is oil based if you use oils in your skincare routine, because that might break the makeup and might make it transfer. And here you see me my favorite color corrector. I use it under my eyes and I use it in any post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation that I might have, which I don't always have, but sometimes I do have because I have super sensitive skin when it comes to those types of things. And although I'm not acne prone, I'm really prone to hyperpigmentation. So even the smallest whitehead, like a close comedone, I can get post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So just letting you know about that. Here you would see that I am doing my contouring. Just contour where you normally do, but something to keep in mind is that you might want to go with a heavier hand, because I'm going to use a foundation that is quite full coverage, and this is going to be underneath it, so you can actually go a little bit crazy with your contouring and highlighting, and it's going to end up looking quite soft. And I would say this is the perfect time to use all the foundations that you thought might have been a little bit too dark or too light, or anything that you find that was a little bit not your perfect match, because you can adjust to everything else. And if you have like a contour that was too dark, you can use it, and just keep in mind that it's not going to show as strong because it's going to be underneath the foundation. Or you have a highlighter that is crazy light, you can use this time to actually finish the products that maybe you liked, but
was not the right color for you. And just something to keep in mind, I'm used to doing this type of thing when I want to use a product that I like, but it was maybe not the perfect color. Or I tend to use this when I'm going to use any cream product like the RCMA palette, which I do like a lot, but I don't like the fact that it transfers so much because it's a cream product and it never sets. So it's just a different way of using it without using tons of powder. And a way of making your products, work for you and don't be wasteful. And as you can see, I have pretty much just my color corrector and my contour color done. I did layer two colors for contouring just because one is not cool tone enough for my liking, and the other one is perfect, only that is a tiny bit too light for me. And even more so if I'm going to use it underneath my foundation, because it's not going to show up as much. If you're looking for a contouring product that might be really good for mask wear or non-transferring, I would say that the Fenty sticks are really good because they are cream to powder and they don't transfer almost at all. And as you can see, I'm just blending things a tiny bit. I'm just pretty much making sure that I get rid of really harsh lines, but I'm not blending out all the product because I do still want it to be quite heavy and in the precise place that I place it. And this that I'm showing you is the Pro Longwear Concealer from MAC. This is one of my favorites. And then I'm going to use this to highlight. I really like this concealer. I can use this even as foundation and it looks amazing. It doesn't emphasize any dryness, but it does set in. And um, this part and the reverse contouring is pretty much just doing your contouring and your highlighting under your foundation, because on top of all of this we are going to put the foundation. And I know it sounds and looks a little bit crazy at the moment because you have to go with a heavier hand than usual and things are not looking as they normally do, because people normally do the foundation and then on top everything else. But just keep in mind that this is for the purpose of just buying maybe a foundation and not having to buy everything else. You know what I mean? Um, Saying that though, I'm recommending other products that you might want to buy, or maybe you already do have in your collection that might work for you in a normal way, so not a reverse contouring way. And something to keep in mind is that you want to use all creams and liquids. Do not think of using a powder unless you have tried this before and you know what you're doing. You can always experiment, but for the most part, I would say that powders and liquids don't do well if you are starting to use powder and then liquid and then powder and then liquid. It's just going to not do well. And here I'm showing you one of my favorite foundations ever. This is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I love this foundation. Like, you don't have an idea. And here I'm going to show you some other options that I do like. This is the L'Oreal Invisible 20-Hour Fresh Wear. I really do like that one, and it's better for dry skin. The Airflash one I do like a lot, and I'm going to link everything down below, but you want something that will set. I would say that the 24-Hour Fresh is maybe a tiny bit not so transfer proof, but it's better with people with really dry skin. Um, Probably a little bit better for me at the time, but I just wanted to show you with the Estee Double Wear because I love that one. And at the moment, I don't have a pump because I actually have another foundation when I used to live. But quarantine, I'm currently living with my parents and I don't have all my makeup with me. So I haven't been able to find the pump because actually they were out of stock. So because if you want to buy the Estee Lauder Double Wear, I would say please buy the pump you are going to waste a lot of foundation if you don't. I did try. I have had this foundation before several times, and I would say that the best idea is just get a pump. The MAC pump worked really well on that foundation. And in the clips, you saw me putting some cream blush. I have used cream blush before in this technique. I just didn't realize that the color that I was using was not, strong enough, pigmented enough. So later on, you see me using another one to show you the technique. Just letting you know, if you see that I have a little bit of orange, it's just because of that. But here in this clip, you see me putting on the foundation, as I have mentioned, on top of everything we have done. So what you want to do is either get a flat brush and just paint it on. You don't want to buff or anything like that, because you don't want to move the product that we put underneath. So the best idea is either use a flat brush and then use a sponge to remove the excess, or use the sponge directly. But I would say that because I decided to use quite the liquid product, because the Estee Lauder is quite a liquid formula, um, the sponge is going to eat quite a bit of product. So the best idea would have to be, use the paddle brush, because you're not going to waste as much product. And here, as you can see, I'm just pretty much blending, and you can notice that pretty much is gone, that really heavy contouring and everything like that. And honestly speaking, I think that for me, I did end up with a look that I liked it. But if you like something quite soft and you tend to have a heavier hand, I would say that you are pretty much better off buying something like Face and Body from MAC, or the Dior body foundation. I haven't tried that one, but body and face foundations tend to be quite transfer proof. So I would say that might be another good idea if you don't want to do something so heavy, because most foundations that set tend to be more in the heavier coverage. And although I really liked it, I know some people like something lighter, and I would say that it has a little bit more of a learning curve, because you have to put enough to actually cover everything underneath. But you end up using more foundation that normally. I do like how it ends up looking, but I wouldn't have used this much product if I have done my foundation as I normally do so. And that was a point that I did want to mention, is just that, you know, different people have different taste. So some people might think this looks amazing, and I do believe it looks really good. And actually, in pictures, it looks really good. It's just that for me, I'm really picky when it comes to how my skin looks like. And I feel like I take a lot of care in the way my skin, is, health wise. So I try to make it look as skin like as possible. So I normally don't like to go so heavy hand. Saying that though, this technique can be useful for someone who, tends to feel like sometimes the contouring might look too harsh on them, or they feel like they don't know how to blend enough, or they feel like they end up always with stripes on their face, because these will soften everything a lot. But personally, for me, I am better I think, when it comes to doing the contouring and highlighter on top, just because I feel like I can have more control on how much I can use. And I think for me personally, this is the most difficult part of this technique. Not that it's super difficult, it's just that I have to know how much product I use. And I'm aware super often that I had used a tiny bit more that I would have liked it to. And sometimes if you don't use enough, you don't get that really soft look. So, it's something to keep on mind. Even more so when you're going to work with different colors, like you went crazy bright with your under eye or you went crazy dark with your contouring. And if you actually put attention to the clips, you can notice that in the first side that I did end up using a tiny bit more foundation that I would have liked it to. And part of it was because I didn't have a pump. So gauging how much product I had to use was a little bit difficult for me because I'm used to having a pump. And I have always mentioned this before, but it's so much more easier to add product than to remove it. So, of course, one of the reasons that I love my beauty blender is that it does removes a lot of product and you end up with a better final look, in my opinion. It's just that in my personal experience, I always find better to be able to add tiny bit more than to have to, work the hassle of trying to remove a lot of product. And personally, I feel like I end up with a better look. Because keep in mind that the more product that you use, the more you can emphasize like dryness or texture or a lot of different things that you might not want to emphasize. And that's why I think this is better for people with normal to dry skin. I wouldn't say that it will be comfortable with someone with super dry skin, but you know, at least I think it's a better idea than, do the baking all over your face. Because honestly, my face would look terrible if I did that. But, to each their own. I know that when I used to have more of a oily skin, I could handle baking a lot better than I do now. And if you like baking and you live in a really hot climate, that might be the answer for you. But I don't want you to think that this is just useless because this is a good technique and a lot of people actually like it better than how I do my foundation, like, foundation and everything else on top. It's just that you have to play with it and you have to learn what you like better. And you saw me using Fix Plus. I think is okay and actually good if you use it if you have normal to dry skin. But if you have more of an oily skin, I would say just skip it because what the Fix Plus would do is that it would bring some moisture back into the foundation, and it's totally okay if you have more of a dry skin because your skin is not going to add more on its own. But if you have oily skin, you don't want to add more on top of what your skin already does. And here you are seeing me putting some cream blush. And beforehand, you saw me mix it in my palette. You can do this on top of your hands, but I think it's more hygienic to have a palette and I tend to mix a lot of things. But why you want to mix this is because you're going to mix it with your foundation so to make whatever product transfer proof. So, it's just a way of making sure you don't get any transfer on your mask because your mask tends to rub a lot there and I love a really blush shake. So that's a way you can totally do this with powder. You just have to make sure you scratch a tiny bit of powder and make sure you blend everything really well. And something to keep in mind is that you want whatever blush color you want to be quite vibrant. So it actually shows up because the foundation has pigmentation. So I'm just trying to show you here that, something like a really red or cranberry color or a wine color might be a really good idea because it's going to actually show up. So exhibit A from NARS might be a good idea if you want, like a powder formula to mix. I would say the easiest is just a lipstick or, a cream blush that you might already have. But a lipstick is a good idea. I don't know how well it would work in a liquid lipstick, but I would say that probably the best is a lipstick and a lip tint. Other thing that might work is, as I have mentioned before, a vibrant blush or even an eyeshadow can be useful because eyeshadows tend to be more pigmented than certain blushes out there. But I did this with the Fenty Beauty one and it worked amazingly. Just keep in mind that it just works with really vibrant colors. Otherwise, really soft ones, they are not going to show up because when you mix them to reduce the concentration of that product, so that color looks less vibrant. Just something to keep in mind. And here I'm going to move to my brows. I'm going to use the brow wiz. Personally, I have found that when you have your mask on, you want to do a good brow, but nothing too crazy, because otherwise it can just catch your eyes so much that everything else looks bland. You know what I mean? Because you want to have that structure, but if you overdo it, it can look too much. I would say that it's better if you go more heavy hand when it comes to, using eyeshadow and lashes and do a good, structured brow, but nothing too much. Because, you know, for the most part, if you're going to be wearing your mask as you should, you're going to be wearing a lot of the time, like most of the time. And, your eyes can be the center of attention, but, everything else can be a little bit more demure. I'm aware that a lot of people, might, have to use the mask just for a tiny bit and then everything else might have to be cohesive because otherwise you're going to look weird. But try to go more soft everywhere else because, for the most part, I would say make the eyes the center of attention. And that's pretty much how I'm going to do my brows. Next, I'm just going to take my beauty blender again and I'm going to make sure that I don't have any excess of foundation in my skin. So I'm just going to push the beauty blender everywhere and making sure that everything looks super well blended and as much skin like as I can. And last but not least, I'm just going to show you 3 products that might be the best idea for you. In my opinion, the best is probably liquid lipstick, but I'm not super fan of them. I don't love the fact that reapply them is a mess. And next, I have 2 products that are quite similar, but mm, a little bit different. This is the YSL Lip Tattoo, and I love and adore this product. I have several colors, and this is my go-to pretty much always. I really, really love it, and it's super long lasting. This is a new thing that I have been trying on. This is from Dior Addict Lip Tattoo. Pretty much both of them are called lip tattoos, and pretty much both of them are lip tints. Uh, I'm just going to show you one side, one color, and one side the other. And I tried to choose 2 colors that were quite similar, so you can see the difference when it comes to pigmentation and formula. The Dior formula, the one that I'm showing you at the moment, is more watery and it has less pigment, but it gives a more soft and natural look. So I would say this is even appropriate for someone who goes to high school. You know what I mean? It really does looks something along the lines of that Korean lip tint kind of a deal, super soft everyday kind of a deal. And the YSL formula, it's different in a sense that is so much more pigmented, is more like the pigmentation of a liquid lipstick. And if I had to choose just one for the rest of my life, I would have to say the YSL one, just because it allows you to even fake the line of your lips. So, you can trick the eye and it, makes more of a domed look. It looks more like makeup in a good way, like a really contour precise, really full pigmented lip. I end up mixing both of the colors because they are quite similar, but in a minute you will see what I do to this lip. So I make it quite transfer proof. I'm just going to end doing my lips and I'm going to finish with the base makeup. So I did my eyes out of camera and then I'm just going to make sure I don't have any creases. And as you can see, this is pretty much, you know, transfer proof, but still I'm going to take a translucent powder and I'm going to lightly dab it under my eyes because I did use a concealer on top of my foundation and I don't want it to move, and I'm going to just put a tiny bit whatever the mask is going to be, just to make super sure that there is not going to be transfer. As I have mentioned before, try to use a light hand. Personally, I don't think it will look good if you do the baking or anything like that when you have used this much foundation and you have dry skin or normal skin. So, not a good idea. Then I'm going to move on to the lips. I did mention these were not transfer proof completely, but once you do remove the extra product out of your lips, you are going to be left with a tint. Sorry for the paper on my lips, but it just happened. Uh, and it looks super good. It lasts throughout meals. Just remove the paper out of your mouth, and you're pretty much done and set when it comes to that. I truly love how natural and pretty it looks. And I did mention that, you know, I was going to remove a little bit of the product. I still think that if you have to choose one, I will go for the YSL one. It's just my favorite. But if you are going to use it more in a really soft manner or you want less pigmentation than what I have at the moment, the Dior might be the one for you. But personally, I don't have really pigmented lips. So I love when they look like I do because otherwise I can look like that. You know what I mean? And here I'm just showing you that the makeup is not transferring or anything like that. I'm going to show you every single part of this paper so you can see that I don't have any transfer or anything like that. So, yeah, just making sure I'm showing you that is transfer proof, it shouldn't transfer. And other than that, I think I'm going to edit this eye makeup look in another video because I think it looks super pretty and it was super easy to do. And that will be pretty much it for the makeup.
Well, as you can see, this is the final makeup look. I'm sorry if my offload schedule is a little bit all over the place, but honestly speaking, I am at uni at the moment. I'm doing uni online, of course, but I have tons of homework and, tests and different things that I have to work on. So I'm trying my best to, sleep at least a few hours per day and do these that I really, really like. So hopefully you don't mind if I don't put videos like the same days that I used to, but I'm going to try my best to put at least 2 videos per week. And yeah, hope you don't mind too much, but I really try to make the best content that I can do. And if you see that I can be better at something, please let me know. I am always, eager to learn and become better and make better content, because although I know there is not a lot of you that watch, I just really truly enjoy makeup, and I just really enjoy making, content about it. And I want to be the best version that I can be and do. So, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I'm going to link my social media here because I get to put a little bit more pieces there about my outfits and different things that I get to do. Not always, but sometimes I do put a little bit of content there, mainly about fashion. I think there's a lot of holes happening there because I have a problem when it comes to loving fashion way too much. So yeah, because fashion is another love of mine. That and books. I do some book and movie recommendations too, because I sometimes lose sleep over reading, because that's a big thing for me. But yeah, I put some different content there, and music recommendations, which is so much more easy to do there in Instagram just for copyrights, you know what I mean? Thanks for watching. Without anything more to say, I hope you all have a good day. Bye.